The government will be forced to publish these details of the no-deal Brexit planning. I think by 11 o'clock tonight, these so-called Yellowhammer documents, for any of our viewers who might have forgotten about that, talking about shortages potentially of food, of fuel and medicines. Is that going to happen? Are those going to be published?
The government always abides by the law, and there's a lot of consideration going on now as to what can be offered. I mean, obviously this was an absolute travesty. There is, the government is incredibly transparent. The United Kingdom government is one of the most transparent in the world. We do absolutely provide information on a grand scale about what the government is doing. But what the humble address the other night sought to do was to really ride roughshod over all arrangements under a Labour-introduced Freedom of Information Act, where the advice given by staff of government to government ministers should be kept confidential. Why? Because so that they can speak freely and give their free advice to ministers. And what this does is to undermine that. So we have to be very careful that what we provide doesn't actually undermine the possibility in future of ministers receiving open and impartial advice from civil servants who work so hard for the United Kingdom.
Again, I totally appreciate, but I'm sure you can see the counter argument to that, in that something which is so important for so many people and businesses as well, there is a right, isn't there, to know what sort of contingencies you are looking at and what potentially might happen if things don't go according to plan.
Well, you're right to say what potentially might happen, and Yellowhammer is, as you know, the reasonable worst case scenario. It's by no means a prediction of anything. It's simply the government looking at every possible angle and ensuring that we have measures in place to deal with that.
And shouldn't we all know that?
I'm sorry?
And shouldn't we all know that?
Well, I actually do not think that it serves people well to see what is the absolutely worst thing that can happen. So, the worst thing that could happen to me is I could walk out of here and get run over. It's not a prediction, but it's something that could happen. And simply putting out there all of the possible permutations of what could happen actually just serves to concern people, whereas what the government is doing is working flat out to ensure that in all circumstances, including in the event of no deal, that we have a smooth transition for the United Kingdom. There is so much work underway to make sure that in all circumstances the UK will absolutely thrive once we leave the European Union.
I've got to come back to you on that, because you're saying that people don't want to know all the potential outcomes. Every single time we speak to a business on this programme, they say they're trying to do all their planning to find out exactly what could happen from one end of the scale to the other. Now, I really hope you don't leave the studio and do get run over today, but there are businesses who are genuinely concerned about things that could happen, and this is part of that knowledge that they feel they need.
And we are, that's to conflate two things. Yellowhammer is a very different point, but you're absolutely right. My job as business secretary is to make sure that businesses have every bit of information that they need. And one of my grave concerns is that not enough businesses as yet are ensuring that they are ready for Brexit in all scenarios. So what we've been doing as government is a huge communications campaign. We've changed all of our websites to ensure that there is very clear practical advice for businesses, big and small, as to the steps they need to take to get ready for Brexit. So I totally agree with you. Businesses do need that information, and we're giving them every bit of information that we can.
Okay, stay safe out there, Andrew Leadsom. Thank you very much for coming on the programme today.